When diving back in time and reflecting on many of the classic anime films that were released in the 80s and 90s, one of the main directors you want to keep an eye on and follow the career of is none other than Yoshiaki Kawajiri, notably being the man behind the iconic Ninja Scroll and Wicked City, two of my favorite films from that era, and two films that I highly recommend that you check out. I have reviewed them on this channel, just check the anime review playlist. But in 1988, we got this film, Demon City Shinjuku, a movie about, well, yeah, a city of demons. What did you expect? The opening of the film features an epic battle between two characters, put simply, one good and one who has embraced evil. But the forces of darkness overpower the valiant warrior who uses a wooden sword, and shortly after his death, our antagonist, Rebi Ra, opens a gateway between the human world and the realm of demons, unleashing them upon the city of Shinjuku and plunging it into a darkness that would last for 10 years. Just long enough for the son of the fallen master, Kyoya, to grow into a young man and follow the footsteps of his father, training diligently, his weapon of choice also being a wooden sword, one that he uses to help conjure his chi and use for powerful attacks that would be much deadlier than using a regular blade. But Kyoya isn't the typical hero type. Yes, he wants to do what's right, but he almost can't be bothered when he's told to travel to Shinjuku to face his father's killer, as entering into a hellscape pretty much would confirm an early death for anybody, so who would want to do that? Avenging your father would be cool and all, but is that really enough to walk and enter a hell on earth? So what would make him want to? Ah yes, enter the blank slate token beautiful female character who will rush head on into danger, and Kyoya has to follow and save her to make sure she's not killed, or even worse, because this is an 80s anime after all. But no, I'm not trying to pick on this character specifically, because all of the characters in this movie are pretty standard and not really developed too much. But granted, this is only an 80-minute film, so there are a lot of elements that could have been expanded on, but just aren't for the sake of pacing and making sure we get in a decent amount of action sequences. The rest of Demon City goes as you would expect. The two characters traverse the Forgotten City trying to find their way towards Rebi Ra. They face various enemies, some engaging fight scenes happen, and they meet a few helpers along the way. One is this tiny roller skating kid who has a two-headed demon dog as a pet, which is pretty cool, but if you're a dog person, maybe go into this with a trigger warning. But hey, it's okay, because a cat dies too, so it's completely fair. There's also this guy named Mephisto. Yeah, Mephisto. And he's definitely a demon of some sort, and he's pretty indifferent about whether or not the world gets saved. He's not good, he's not evil, he's just kind of here and along for the ride. He's got this great moment where he faces off against this stretchy tentacle girl, and no, it doesn't go where you think it's going to, but he does come up with some pretty creative ways in order to defeat her, which definitely hit my dark humor funny bone pretty well. Now, you see, some of the part of the appeal of the old school anime films comes with its look and aesthetic, which is what this movie has down to a T. This is exactly what you would imagine in your mind when you think of 80s anime, putting yourself back into that young childhood state you were in at one time, putting this movie on at like midnight or something, and being captivated and enthralled into this exciting world of animation that was considered to be taboo and too extreme by many. But what may surprise you about Demon City, especially considering Wicked City was made just before this and was about as hardcore with the sex and violence as you could possibly get, this one, however, is relatively tame. The gore is heavily restrained, and I'm not sure if there was a reason behind it or if this movie was meant to appeal more to a teenage audience than a traditional adult one. I mean, yes, it is a very adult movie in the sense that the characters aren't censored when speaking, they're dropping F-bombs, talking about sexual things, also a few instances of a titty popping out, but there's no actual sex, and thankfully no grape either, and the violence is there, but we aren't really seeing explosions of blood, guts, and gore falling all over the place. Really, I could see this movie being sort of a hard PG-13 if it was a live action. So with a pretty basic and standard plot, simple characters, and no hardcore elements, why is this movie worth checking out, and what makes people talk about it still to this day? Well, there's a few things. First and foremost, you have to thank the direction of Kawajiri. The style, animation, the shots, the cinematography basically save this movie. Even if the story is extremely predictable, the way it looks and feels will take you to a world that is so specifically 80s anime that you would have to use this movie as an example of what you mean when you talk about that kind of aesthetic. The rich colors, the way the power explodes from Kyoyo's wooden sword, how ominous and terrifying Rebi Ra looks. He's got this long red cape and this dead cold look of a killer in his eyes, and the dude just floats around in the air on his back, reflecting on his life and thinking about how sweet it's going to be to open a portal to the demon world to ravage the earth. Well, we've all been there. The fight scene on the subway car against this spider demon also looks amazing. It's one of the best action sequences in the movie, and this dreamscape-like moment throughout this once city park turned into a graveyard is also a standout when it comes to the style and aesthetics. But yes, this movie is exactly what you think it's going to be from start to finish as far as the plot goes, and maybe it also isn't what you expect it to be, because if you were expecting Wicked City levels of adult content, you will not find that here. I think the thing you have to remember is that at the time this movie was making its way throughout video rental stores in the West, it was still a very early time in the consumption and understanding of Japanese animation. Seeing something like this back then was just cooler than cool. It's something that was scarce to find and something that you could tell your friends about, and then it created this cult status that many of these movies have that I have been talking about over this time. Maybe Demon City isn't one of those movies that can hold up well after decades of time. Maybe it truly is just a product of its time, but I don't think that that's a bad thing. I think it can work very much like a time machine, and it takes you back to a time where something like this was extraordinarily special. So don't sit there and compare it to the thousands of anime that have come out since its release. Imagine yourself in a dimly lit room in 1988 on an old box TV with the VHS running, doing its little humming sound in the background as you watch the action and intensity of what anime used to be and see the humble beginnings of the legendary director Kawajiri. And besides, look at this guy's cape. It's amazing. I need to order one. Next time you guys see me, I will be decked out in a red cape, summoning demons, and I think you all should join me. Also, before you leave this video, please stick around just for a quick announcement. As many of you know, I have decided to do YouTube full time now, and though I am extremely excited to do so, it is still going to be a very daunting task. So, in case anybody is interested, I do have a Patreon, which I will link down below in this video. Even for as low as $1 a month is incredibly helpful to me and will support the channel and allow me to work even harder on creating videos instead of needing to do a dozen other things just to make sure I can pay my mortgage. I also offer a variety of perks within the different Patreon tiers, including shoutouts, promos, video requests, and a bunch more. So if you guys would like to, that link is down below in the description. And I'd like to share with you now a promo for a longtime supporter and Patreon of mine, and definitely a friend of mine as well, Adam, for his manga, The Shonen Beat, which I think you guys should really check out. I've done a few reviews for this series so far on the channel, and I highly recommend that you guys go check out some of this manga that I will have linked down below. It is a shonen style story that focuses on music as its primary form of expression and as its battle system. It's literally about taking down the oppressive establishment using music, but in a world where you can use music also as an attacking sound wave. And some really fun and engaging characters are here to explore and follow as they form their band and face the threats that are determined to keep them down. Shonen Beat has several chapters available completely free to read so far, with many new ones coming out, so go ahead and check it out. It is linked down below in the description. And if you enjoy it, consider following Adam on Instagram and Twitter as well for updates, as well as his Patreon page, which is filled with a ton of awesome perks and behind the scenes looks at this series. It's a manga that I truly enjoy, and I definitely think you guys will get some value out of it if you checked it out. Again, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I truly do appreciate it. If you have watched or remember Demon City Shinjuku, please let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Do you think it's overrated? Do you think it still holds up or it doesn't? Please put all your thoughts and comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Other than that, guys, thank you all so much for your continued support. I really, really, truly do appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you next time.